CBDC can improve financial inclusion is through what we call programmability. That is, CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to create smart contracts, to allow targeted policy functions. For example, welfare payment. For example, consumption coupon. For example, food stamp. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized. For example, for food. So this potential programmability can help government agencies to precisely target their support to those people who need support. So that way can also improve financial inclusion.
If you go to China, they're piloting it a few years ago in Shenzhen. So I lived overseas. If you go to Shenzhen, back in 2017, they already had facial recognition cameras there. So if you jaywalked in Shenzhen, they would immediately detect that and send you a notification, and they would deduct money from your what they call WeChat account. They use two main apps, WeChat and Alipay. So you can actually deduct your money directly from your account. This is 4 years ago, so this is not like some sort of conspiracy theory. It's not something that's going to happen 10 years into the future. This happened pre-corona in China. And so this system in China that exists is extremely advanced. They can detect if it's a man or a woman. They can guess your age. They can detect what kind of car model it is, who the manufacturer is. This is a sort of technology that we see in all these dystopian sort of films and whatever. And people keep putting it off and thinking that this is something that's going to happen later in my kids' lifetime or my grandkids. It's already here. And if this gets implemented anywhere, especially in a Western nation, it's saying if you ate 3 pizzas this week because it's unhealthy, if you buy certain books in certain countries, your country doesn't like you, you'll lose points in the social credit score system. So this is already the reality of the world in certain places, and we need to be aware of that if we don't want that or if we do. It's total control. Everything you do or don't do will be calculated to the point where if they can detect your GPS signal, if you have a phone on you, they can detect who you're hanging out with. Oh, you're hanging out with somebody that said something bad 9 years ago on Weibo, okay, like a Chinese equivalent to Facebook or something like that, right? Oh, you lose 2 points. Oh, you bought Japanese books, you lose 5 points because you don't like Japan. This is what is going to come here because it's already there. Simple reality is that the technology that CSIS has and all these big tech corporations, they already know where you are. It's just that they don't want to shock the system too much and admit that they have it. Edward Snowden revealed all this back in 2013. He fled to Hong Kong. They wouldn't keep him there, so now he's in Russia. Yeah. But the NSA has all of your information. They know your Google searches from like February 9th, 2004 in a bunker in Colorado.
Help me, Rhonda.
Right? They have all this information. So, but they don't, like in the US, they have the 4th Amendment. They're not supposed to track you forever, right? So they pretend they don't have it, but they do. Yeah. If they really want to utilize it.
Give a type of money that can only be spent for a specific number of reasons. And some worry about that state control or whatever, but like in this particular narrow use case, you want to give checks to individuals to get the economy moving again. Yeah. So if you think of programmable money that expires if you don't spend it.
Emily, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that Bitcoin was invented precisely to prevent this kind of thing. You know, Bitcoin came into the world on the heels of the financial crisis, and the idea was that this was supposed to be decentralized, transparent, and reduce the need for too much trust in one individual or company. And now we've had basically the implosion of FTX, which had this kind of larger-than-life leader, a completely opaque institution. Now, of course, this does not represent Bitcoin per se. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, but the ideals on which cryptocurrency were founded have been completely undermined due to recent events.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if the whole idea was about creating trust in an otherwise trustless system so that you actually didn't need to trust anybody, the technology was the thing you trusted, how could something like this happen? When you think about the sort of follow-on impacts, the domino effects, lots of questions about Genesis, about what it means to the rest of Barry's various businesses, for example, how that impacts so many others, and then where Binance is in all of this. What do you think we're going to be seeing here?
I think this story is far from over, because what we've seen is that there's been a domino effect, and there's basically FTX had so many different loans and investments and investors, and we're starting to see a domino effect of companies that were affiliated with FTX now suffering the repercussions of this implosion. So I have a feeling there will be more to come. We don't know exactly where it's going to hit. There have been some surprises thus far. In terms of Binance, yes, Binance now is saying that they have a recovery fund, and what's interesting is that Binance in some ways is taking a page out of FTX's playbook. If you remember, until recently, FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried specifically were seen as kind of saviors of the crypto industry. This past year has been a really tough year for crypto. A lot of firms have been struggling, and Sam kind of came in and he was like this white knight of the crypto industry, which goes back to my earlier point, which is that the crypto industry should not need a white knight because the crypto industry is supposed to be decentralized. And now you kind of have Binance sort of stepping up to the plate. The problem is that, I would argue previously in crypto, you had this problem where you had two companies that were overly powerful. One was FTX and one was Binance. And again, this is not a great look for a supposedly decentralized industry. Now you're down to one, which is Binance. And again, this is nothing against Binance specifically, but I think we should still have that same kind of skepticism about letting one company become so powerful in an industry that is not supposed to be dependent on any specific player.
Emily?
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have BlockFi's bankruptcy announced today, which shouldn't surprise anyone. But that CNBC video that you just watched was done on Friday. And then you get the announcement on Monday that BlockFi is filing bankruptcy. And I'm pretty sure CNBC knew on Friday. But the young man speaking about China, talking about all the technology that they have. And guys, we know this is all centered around the fourth industrial revolution. We gave China all of this technology, so therefore they can implement it, and then the United States follow. Remember, the United States is the last place of true freedom. And we see all the stage riots over in China. And we know the lockdowns over there are just set up to kick the fourth industrial revolution can down the road. They're ready to flip the switch. And we're going to start seeing China and the emerging markets rise from poverty into the middle class. And the United States middle class is going to be moving into poverty. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And in 2023, we're going to start seeing in America the foundation of regulation for the fourth industrial revolution. And this regulation is going to be for the robots, algorithms, and drones, so they can pay each other with crypto and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
There's a lot of blame to go around, but one,
yes, there is.
One that does appeal to me a little is that regulators in this country have been so slow and I don't know, cautious, that it drove this exchange to the Bahamas, where you're just you're asking for it when there's no rules down there. And I understand scammers are going to scam, and you can't. No one's to blame except Bankman-Fried maybe himself, but where were we? Why can't the SEC get it together on regulating the exchanges so that we could bring it here?
Yeah, well, there is a disappointing lack of agility in our regulatory system. We saw that during the great financial crisis too, where the regulators were very slow to respond with mortgage lending standards as this, the subprime crisis was spinning out of control. I think part of it has to do with our balkanized regulatory structure. We're unique in the world on this. We've got one for securities, one for commodities, a bunch for banks. And turf event inevitably gets into the policy discussions when it shouldn't. Frankly, Congress is part of the problem too, political pressure. You saw what kinds of bills were starting to move ahead in Congress that were being heavily influenced by industry. But the political pressure, especially if you're the SEC and CFTC and you're funded through the congressional appropriations process, that makes you a bit timid. So there are a lot of things that need to be fixed. More consolidation among regulators and Congress exercising greater restraint when the lobbies come knocking on their door to put pressure on regulators to stand back and let the regulators do it.
Well, you can.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort, and China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.